Hello and welcome. Today I will tell you a story. The story about a girl who is destined to save the world, but ran away from the overwhelming responsibility. She now finds herself transported from an ordered life into an adventure in an unknown world. But soon she will find out that even with her new friends, she can't flee her old life and is soon confronted with the consequences of her decisions. And this is the story of Sprinter, a webcomic created by Marowe and Isto. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Short Comic Introductions. Let's keep it short. If you're not already reading Sprinter, go out and read it. Stop this video and go read it. It's one of the most, how to put it, unique webcomics out there at the moment. Beginning from the designs, the coloring, the characters, the world, everything about this one screams it's really its own product. What I mean with this one, or let's face it a little bit differently. The first thing I should say, since I found out about this comic, this comic really quickly rose to one of my favorites. What Marowe and Isto did here was is phenomenal. I can't say anything else. It's really one hell of a comic out there, and I'm still thankful to Michael Sexton that he posted a few months ago on his Twitter feed that there was an update about this comic. And I found out about this one, and already from the get-go I saw that what we have here is something that is already not like everything else. Just from the one picture he posted, and just to give you an idea, before I say what kind of picture got my interest, think if you go on different websites that list comics out there, what do you see? Most people or most creators try to get your attention with really different kinds of animated banners, animated logos, different wording, trying to with clickbait to get your attention, making it very dark, broody, making it overly cute. The picture I saw of Sprinter was just the logo and a few buildings standing around. This was what got my interest. Just that you know why why I say this one is already this one is so unique in its own way. And I'm not saying that that these buildings look like something you will click. It really just was a city landscape, nothing more, or a town landscape in this case. Yes, I'm really going out on a limb here and saying Sprinter is one hell of a comic. It will become one hell of a ride, and yes, I will go so far out and will say Sprinter will become one hit in so many. It will become one big hitter in the comic business in this case. It has so much potential and is already showing what it can do in so many ways. Even if it's only 1 year old, keep that in mind. I'm really happy that I'm recording this video on its first anniversary. Normally when I do these very young comics, I just do a first impression, because normally it's just, if you're not that far in, it's always a little bit hard to talk about something. You don't know where it's going, what kind of story it will tell, how the characters will work. Because mostly when you start a comic, the creators try to bring you into the world, try to show you the characters, and yeah, it's building slowly up in many cases. Check out all the different comics. You will see what I mean. The first, let's say, 50 to 100 pages, the most, All of the creators, all of the writers really try to get you into the world, into the characters, before they start with the real story. They just build up. Sprinter, on the other hand, throws you into it. Yeah, the first thing you see is the main character falling from a sky. You have no idea why, what's going on, just falling from the sky, trying to get out of a crater, and is on its way along the road. And believe me when I say, this is brilliant. It's really brilliant. Some people say this is lazy writing. No, that's brilliant, because what follows soon after that is what makes this comic great. You don't know anything or at least you don't know at the moment what's going on. The characters interact like normal people will interact in so many ways. I never had the feeling that when they try to communicate or just try to tell something, that these characters are they're just written this way. And the great thing about it, like I said, there is a big story and you get slowly behind the story, but not the way you might think. There aren't these big explanation pages. The first glimpse we get why Sprinter is in this position, Sprinter is the main character in this case, is when a person who knows her comes on the scene. And this is not like every other story I know where they try to explain what's going on and try all these side characters to show what's really going on. They talk like normal people would talk, and just with a few words. These few words were so carefully selected that you know what's going on, why these two are at this specific point, why they are against each other. This is absolutely amazing, because this is something, like I said, not so many creators and writers out there try to do. All of them try to give you so much backstory, so much information, that it's sometimes, even in some of my really absolute favorite stories, it kind of looks out of place, to put it exact. Why do characters try to explain everything just in front of one or two other persons? It never makes sense to me. But it doesn't matter as long as it's good written. But in this case, it's really, this is something I really love, when they just say, just do it, just try to get it along as normal people would get along. You're on the right, yeah, but you're also just a bystander. And if you, like I said, if you think in a real world, if you're listening to two people talk, these two never will, when they see you, they never will start telling their life story, what's going on, so you understand it. But if you listen closely, you always get some parts, so you have an idea why they talk this way, why they are screaming at each other, and so on. And this is one of the really fantastic points I love about Sprinter. And it's not only the beginning; it's going. We are in chapter 2, and it's going through the whole comic already. You have. There isn't so much talking themes in there, but you already get an idea what's going on, who specific characters are, who specific organizations are, just with a few dialogues. This is already something very amazing and unique in my opinion. It's not very often you see writers doing this. And many, I will say, have problems with it and start falling back into the exposition part. But I don't think that we see this in Sprinter, because it's already working so great in so many ways. And this brings us to the second part, the characters. The characters are amazing. Even if they aren't that deep like in other stories, and other stories I personally really love, where they are explained in so many ways, they are already absolutely lovable. And even if there are partially, if there's a character you might hate, you really hate him, but not just because you have to hate him, because the way the character is working, is talking, but also there is a part where you can understand their motivation, where it's coming from, why specific characters are there. One character I really very early start liking, because of where I saw what they wanted to do with the characters, is there's an officer in an industry building, very in the first chapter, who has to, how to put it, has to or other words, who warns Sprinter to not cross paths with her again. And the way the scene ends before chapter 2 begins, let's put it this way, the ending of chapter 1, the way she reacts is phenomenal. It's not this I don't want to spoil too much, but let's put it this way. The way the scene begins, you might think they write it in a way that this character is all military and will do all the protocols. But what comes next is absolute. This is what I meant when I said these characters really work in also in a story, very human-like, very relatable. It's coming from, in my eyes, it comes out from nowhere, and it really works amazingly. This also comes with one of the new main characters in chapter 2, and like I said, I don't want to spoil much about it, but if you're a fan of interesting stories and absolute interesting characters, do yourself a favor. Put this one on your reading list. You won't be disappointed. And just going from what they already did with the characters, I am so looking forward where all this is going. Then, even if I'm already saying we have a big hit here on our hands, we are still at the beginning, and I have absolutely no clue where they will bring this one, but I am sure we will see a lot of things happening we don't expect, and I'm really looking forward to it. But this brings us to the next and next important part, the art design and the art style, or coloring in this case, because this was what brought me to this comic. Now, when I say that the comic looks very unique in its art style, then I mean it. When you see it, the first thing you see is that this comic has this very. It looks like it's a black and white comic with a lot of gray tones, with more brown tones in so many ways. And yes, but the unique part isn't that. The unique part is how they use colors. Because every main character has its own color scheme. And this is something that at first sight looks very or it's something very you don't know what to say about this, because you never have encountered something like this, but in the end it works, and it looks fantastic in absolutely so many ways. Not only makes it interesting when you have characters talking about, because the color schemes mostly concentrate on the important characters, and the more the characters go to the more side characters, the colors are getting fewer and the details getting fewer. But it makes such a great visual effect in so many ways, because you always are drawn to what is important. In so many scenes, when there is so much going on behind it, and I'm meaning with details. Even if it's at first glance it doesn't look a lot detailed, this comic is highly detailed in the backgrounds, but mostly only the parts that are needed, because sometimes if you're walking down a road in a desert scenario, let's face it, how much detail you have to put into the desert. It doesn't make sense. But if you have a scene like sprinters sitting on or standing on a balcony and just looking at the stars out there, I mean, make this one very detailed, make the stars detailed, and these scenes look amazing. These dark and night scenes are really fantastic looking, and the amount of details in the design is also something I have to say is really something that I absolutely adore. Because one thing, let's put it this way: if you want to impress me, create something that create a great cyberpunk scenario, steampunk scenario, or Western technology scenario. Mix them all together in the right way, and also you have my full attention. And this is what we have here. Sprinter has this very, very great, this really great designed world where all these parts are partially combined, even if it's not visible at first. But yeah, it's really amazing looking, and also the effects. I love the ether effects in the industrial complex when Sprinter is working with it. It's the art has just this very, very unique flow to it. I think it's always hard to describe if you're not an artist yourself, but just looking at it. But everything, I would say, again, Sprinter is one of these very rare cases where the art has a flow to it from panel to panel, to page to page. It never has this hard cut. It always feels like everything goes into each other. It really works out, and I'm really amazed about this one. Really, Sprinter is one of these really rare cases where when I look at it and when I read it, even if it's still a very young comic on out there, I can't find anything negative. Really, I have when I started this video, when I started to think about what to talk, even when I started writing my journal entry, I don't know what I could say. It's one of these rare occasions where I personally am speechless about everything that's going on in this comic, from the creation, from the comic itself, from the writing, from the art, from the design. it's really fantastic, and I'm speechless. I'm honest with you. When I first started reading it, I really was overwhelmed what I saw there, and I really loved it. And now going into chapter 2, when these new characters arrived, I'm now so hooked into this one. I can't tell you more about it. The only thing I can say, read this one on your own. It is possible that people might think that at first glance it looks boring, or the story might be a little bit boring because the way it's going on. But just think about it a second and try to just imagine this whole scenario in real life, and you see why I'm so impressed about it. Because normally when you say a comic, or a fictional story, you say you can do everything. But trying to make it realistic looking, even if in a fantasy setting, this is something I'm really impressed with it. And if you have the right flow in it, even more. that's the reason. Like I said, I can't tell you more because if I want to talk now more about some of the characters, what's happening, I would talk about the whole story. And still, I'm talking about nearly 20 minutes about the comic that's it's just a year old. But yes, check this one out. Put it on your favorite list. It updates every Saturday, and really support Marowe and Isto in any way you can, because this comic has to become more well known out there. They have a hit on their hands and they deserve every attention they can get. This is a comic that really needs to be read from so many more people out there, and definitely check it out if you can, and in every way, like I said, every way help them out. They deserve every help, every attention they can get. This one, I want to see more about this story. I want to see more in the future, and I want to see them get big with this one. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.